So one of the many things that I love about the GoPro Mission 1 Pro is how easy it is to capture Holy Grail time lapses with this camera, especially when you use these settings. Just toggle left or right here and go to lapse. Once you're in lapse mode, you're going to tap right here at the bottom. You want to make sure the sub mode is set to stationary. I like to do video plus JPEG plus RAW. The reason for that is then you have the option to edit those RAW photos later on. Just select video if you don't want to edit the photos. And by the way, I have a guide to editing those RAW photos. I'll link to it above right here. It'll show you exactly step by step how I do that. Down here for the aspect ratio, I recommend 4:3. That way you can add some motion to your time lapse later on after you capture it. And what I mean by that is you can add vertical motion. So when you drop that 4:3 aspect ratio onto a 16:9 timeline, you have some additional footage at the top and the bottom. If you want to have your time lapse pan vertically, from down to up or up to down, you can do that. You have some extra footage to work with. For the resolution, you want to do 8K. And then what you want to do for the interval, because you were going to be filming during the day and at night, I recommend setting the interval to 30 seconds. And a really important setting is make sure this is on interval priority right here. This is going to ensure your camera stays at the same interval for the entire length of the time lapse. For the rest of these, I leave them as they are, and timer, make sure it's at 3 seconds. That way after you hit record to start it, your camera has time to stop moving. So for the image settings down here, first of all, for the digital lens, select wide. You want to have that wide perspective unless you don't want any fisheye at all, in which case you could do linear here. Linear may be good if you're filming somewhere where there's like city buildings, something like that. You don't want to have that fisheye effect. But if you're doing a landscape Holy Grail time lapse, I recommend wide. For the bit depth, select 10-bit. That way your video is going to have the greatest color depth. You're going to have 1 billion possible color shades instead of the 16 million shades found in 8-bit. For the bitrate, I recommend setting that to max. You're going to get the very highest quality, 240 megabits per second. For the HLG HDR, I keep that set to off. For the color mode here, if you don't want to do any grading of this time lapse later on, then I recommend setting it to natural right here. If you do want to potentially do some grading, set it to GP log 2. But in general, for Holy Grail time lapses, natural is going to be your best bet. For the shutter, the key here is keep the shutter set to auto. So when you have this set to auto, what's going to happen at nighttime is it's going to slow that shutter speed all the way down. And in this case, because our interval is 30 seconds, it's going to go as slow as about 28 seconds. And when it goes that slow, you're going to capture really good celestial details in the sky at night. Like with this Holy Grail time lapse right here, even with the moon in the sky part of the night, I was still able to capture quite a bit of the Milky Way with these settings. For the EV comp, you want to keep that set at 0. For the white balance, you want to keep that set to auto. I noticed during my Holy Grail time lapses, the GoPro Mission 1 Pro does an excellent job adjusting the white balance accordingly. And then a really important setting here with the ISO, you want to select range down here and do 25 to 1600. And the great thing about that is during the really bright times of your time lapse, like sunrise and sunset, if your camera's pointing right at the sun, the GoPro is going to take the ISO all the way down to 25. So it's going to prioritize as low of an ISO as possible. And so it's going to do that, and that's going to help keep your shutter speed as slow as possible. And then when it comes to sharpness, I recommend keeping that low for a time lapse. It's going to look really nice. And then denoise, because this is a day to night and night to day, you do want to have some denoise on here. I recommend doing medium. I don't recommend doing high. With high, you lose too much detail with the denoising, but medium does a really good job at nighttime. You don't get that noise and grain in your sky, and then during the day when it's not really applicable, the denoising, it doesn't really have to apply as much to that part of the time lapse. But definitely set it to medium for nighttime, especially if you're doing just the video and not editing photos later on. So once you've keyed in those settings, you are good to go, my friend. Use these settings to get a Holy Grail day to night to day time lapse, and you're going to love the results. And if you'd like to learn more about how to capture the very best footage with the GoPro Mission 1 Pro, check out this playlist right here.